In today's video, I want to talk about the importance of focus and how you can stay on track with your goals. And make sure you stick around to the end of the video where I share with you my tips on how you can maintain your focus to help you stay on track with your goals for 2020. Thanks for joining me. I'm Darren and welcome to Entrepreneurs, where together we learn and grow our entrepreneur mindset so we can have more success in our lives and our business. Now, I know I'm running a little late this week and there's really only one reason for that. I didn't plan my time effectively. I allowed myself to get distracted from the tasks I needed to complete in order to achieve my weekly goal to get this video out to you. I found myself falling into old habits where it's far easier for me just to sit back and learn something new without taking action than it is to actually implement what I've learned and risk failure. Most of you no doubt have heard the quote from Martin Luther King or variations of it. Take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. Now, that's all well and good to take the first step, but if you don't take the next one, you're not moving any closer to the top of the staircase or your goals. So I guess the question there is, why do we do that? Why do we allow ourselves to get distracted when clearly we've set those goals and we know what we need to do to achieve those goals? And I think that comes down to losing focus. There's a couple of ways it can be described. There's shiny object syndrome, where we're always chasing that new shiny object. Ooh, shiny. Then there's the restless puppy dog, always looking for that new activity or toy or treat that's going to give us that dopamine hit. We are so conditioned today to live our lives seeking out that next dopamine hit. Our attention spans have been significantly reduced to the point where they say with marketing, you've got around 3 seconds to get someone interested in your message to have any chance of retaining them to hear what it is you're offering. That's pretty crazy. So what I want to do today is break down my thoughts around focus, what it is, and how we can control it. I like to look at focus practically, and I think the best way I can think to explain it to you is through the camera analogy. So the basis of a camera is its brain or its sensor, and that captures information, which is light and colour, which is fed to it by the lens that's mounted on the front of the camera. Now, we can have many different types of lenses, ranging from, say, a fisheye, which is basically a 180-degree field of view, to a wide-angle lens that typically you might want to use for, say, landscape photography when you want to capture as much of that landscape as possible. Through to like a telephoto lens where it has a much narrower field of view, and we might use that for, say, taking portraits where we only want to have the person in the frame being in focus. Then we've got, like, say, a super telephoto, which is even narrower again, and those are the big white ones you see at all those sporting events. So the narrower the field of view we see through the lens also affects the depth of field. And depth of field is how much of what we see in that picture is in focus. So the way optics works, with a wide-angle lens, there is generally more in focus from the front to the back of the frame. But as you move to a telephoto and, say, super telephoto lens, that depth of field becomes much narrower or shallower to a point where you look at the image and you notice the background is very blurry and out of focus. So how does all of this tie into what we're talking about here? Well, let me ask you the question. When we have a goal that we want to achieve, would you like it to be in focus or blurry? If it's blurry, how do we know what it is? So obviously we want it to be in focus. Now, for the goal to be in focus, it also has to be a tangible object. When we take a photo, we can only focus on something that's in the frame. So what I'm trying to say here is that we can't really focus on an idea in our mind. We really should ideally have it written down. The next question to ask is, do we want to only see the goal, or do we want to see everything else that's going on in our lives as well in focus? Now, when it comes to life, I think most people only have one lens, and that's usually a wide-angle lens, and they find it really difficult to pick out their goal from the rest of their life's picture because there's just way too much going on and everything is in focus. Whereas those that are truly succeeding at their goals and moving towards and achieving success are sticking on that telephoto lens and only focusing on their goals and blurring out the background and narrowing down their field of view. The other thing with cameras is that you have a choice to make. You can choose manual or autofocus. Now, which one do you think most of us are using when it comes to everyday life? When you stick the camera on autofocus, the camera decides what it thinks you want to be the focus of your picture, which may not always be right for you. Whereas for you to maintain that ultimate control over what you see and what you focus on, you have to choose to manually focus that lens. Now, it might take a little longer to achieve focus and get used to that level of control, but once you have it, only you can change the focus point. The camera's not going to do it for you. So I guess from all of this, we all need to make a few decisions. We first have to decide what lens you're going to put on the front of our camera. Is it going to be the fisheye lens, the wide angle, or the telephoto, or even the super telephoto? And then you need to decide if you're going to use autofocus and let life decide what's going to be the focus for you, or do you choose manual focus, where you decide what you're going to focus on? Even if it takes a little longer, the picture will be much clearer in your mind. Now, the beautiful thing about this analogy, which is the same for photography, is that we can have more than one lens in our kit. Some days we may want to take the whole landscape and appreciate that all that's around us. And in fact, I'd suggest life would be pretty dull if we didn't do that. Other days, we all need to head out to that sports field and throw on our super telephoto lens and really knuckle down on nailing our focus on what needs to be achieved to move towards our goals. Now, as promised, here are my tips for helping you achieve that focus. Number 1, meditation. Starting the day with a meditation session can really set you up for success. It's helped me settle my thoughts and put me in the right frame of mind to appreciate the life that I have and the life that I'm working towards. So don't underestimate the value of this practice. If you haven't tried meditation before, I can definitely recommend giving it a go. Maybe start with a guided meditation. There's apps out there like Headspace and Insight Timer. I've tried both and I can definitely recommend both of those. Number 2, break down your goals into monthly and weekly milestones. So when you do this, it makes it much more achievable when you're hitting those weekly milestones. Like they say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And make sure you reward yourself when you do hit those milestones. It doesn't have to be a massive reward. It's more the recognition that you are achieving success along the way. Number 3, plan your focus sessions. If you put these into your diary or calendar, you can see that there is time for other activities. And it kind of helps me as a coping mechanism for life, that it's not all work and no play. Number 4, remove distractions. When you have all these shiny objects around you, it's far too easy to trick yourself into thinking it's okay just to look at Facebook or TikTok or any of those sorts of things for a minute or two. But every time you shift your focus, you have to spend more time getting that focus back on what you really should be working on. And number 5, understand the difference between urgent and important. It's easy to think that urgent needs to be done right now. However, understanding the tasks that are going to achieve your weekly or daily milestones and getting those done first are what's going to move you towards your goals. So that about wraps it up for me today. I hope you've seen some value in what I've shared with you. And if you are getting value from these videos, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon. So that way every week when I bring out new content, you'll get a notification. So until next week, remember, we all deserve happiness and success in our lives. Have an awesome week, and I'll catch you real soon.